Into Pool B, here is a really interesting pool, and I think there's a massive discrepancy between some of the top talent and some of the bottom talent. Some of the bottom talent, um, I'll go through and I'll be really quick. Australia, China, and the Czech Republic are some of the worst teams in this entire tournament. Australia had a few players back out, and China, the Czech Republic, there's just really not a lot of name recognition. Yankees fans will remember Graham Lloyd, who we spoke about actually on a recent episode, interestingly enough. Graham Lloyd is a bench coach for them. That's about the most notoriety that they have. I don't think Peter Moylan is involved, who's of recent Australian fame. Liam Hendriks, due to his health issues, Liam Hendriks will not be able to make the World Baseball Classic, who would definitely be their best player, their most notable player. And I think I would have more interest in them overall. But there's not a player on Australia that I look at and have a name that that I recognize. Ryan Battaglia, once a prospect in Major League Baseball, but none of these guys are really young and up and coming. It's a bunch of professional guys in the Australian League. And same thing goes for China. Before I move on to China, to get out of this group alone, some of this has to do with Australia. Some of this has to do with the big bad wolf on the top of this pool. But Australia are a plus 5,000 bet to win the group. To get out of the group is probably a bit better of odds, but there's still a massive discrepancy between them and the number 2 team, which I'll get to later. China is even worse, in my opinion. The Chinese professional league, as we spoke about with Taiwan, is just not at the level of the other East Asian leagues, that being the NPB and the KBO of South Korea. China have a plus 7,500 odds of winning their pool and making it to the second round. It's about plus 3,000 odds. I don't believe in China. I think these teams are going to go beat up on one another a little bit. I'd be interested to see who finishes third. I think that could make a good run for them, because moving on to the Czech Republic, I don't think Czech Republic has a chance. You would think with a European team that they would look for some white Americans with very distant connection to the Czech Republic or being Czech. This is another team where you look at the names, with the exception of one name, Eric Sogard, who had a decent MLB career. Played for about 10 years with Oakland, ended out his career with Chicago. So he'll be the one name that you see, and I'm curious as to what his connection is. He's one of the few players born in the USA on this team. All of these players really born in the Czech Republic or listed as Czechoslovakia. The Czech Republic did a great job to qualify via Europe, but I think their road ends here and ends quickly. I would be very surprised if they win a game, as pretty much none of their players are in affiliated baseball in the major leagues. They have a plus 10,000 odds to advance in this group. And that is because there are 2 juggernauts at the top. And next, I will go into South Korea. And South Korea have a pretty solid roster of Korean baseball players. A lot of these guys played together growing up in the different tournaments at a youth level, representing South Korea in Asia. And also most of them play in the KBO, the Korean Professional Baseball League. 2 people to note, there are a bunch of major leaguers, including Ha-seong Kim of the San Diego Padres, and interestingly, Tommy Edman of the St. Louis Cardinals. Ha-seong Kim is a really good defensive shortstop. He is going to take most of the reps at shortstop, one would think. Tommy Edman probably playing second or third base. Tommy Edman qualifies through his mother being his mother being Korean, rather, and we'll talk about another American that has Japanese connection. And Tommy Edman is another major league level player that they could use. Noticeably, they're missing Ji-Man Choi, who has had injuries, but Ji-Man Choi would be one of the better bats for them. But one bat that I am told everywhere I look to look out for is Jung-Hoo Lee. Jung-hoo Lee is a young Korean player who is set to be posted apparently at the end of the season. Jung-hoo Lee was the MVP of the KBO last year. He was born in 1998. He is only 24 years old. Apparently, he's the next big thing. Apparently, he's looking for a move to Major League Baseball. So if you're watching Korea, watch out for this young outfielder, Jung-hoo Lee. Bats left, throws right-handed, and it apparently is a nice power bat as well as a well-rounded hitter in Korea. And we'll see how that translates because they're going to be going up against a juggernaut of juggernauts, and that is Team Japan. Team Japan is full of names you know and full of names that you don't know, and both are going to kill you. First, you have to say Shohei Ohtani is playing for Team Japan, and that is awesome. Shohei hit 2 3-run home runs in a tune-up game yesterday. So you should get excited for Shohei. Well, full boom love for them. And before I get into the rest of these guys, I think these names will tell you why they're a minus 700 to win their pool, which in a tournament style baseball is unheard of when you have a minus 700 favorite with 5 teams and 4 games to play. They are minus 700 to win the pool. Even with Korea being close at plus 320, Japan are a pretty safe bet to sweep this pool because they have the top talent, starting with Shohei Ohtani, who's the best baseball player in the world right now. They have 2 NPB MVPs. They have Yamamoto, who is a well-known pitcher wearing the revered number 18 in Japan. Yamamoto is an MVP. I think he won the MVP in the Japanese league, the NPB, last year as a pitcher for his team. He also is rumored to be listed soon. He is 24 years old as well. And there's also Munetaka Murakami, who is the Japanese-born home runs leader for any league, specifically for the NPB. That was significant because, as I mentioned, Vladimir Valentin has the NPB record for home runs. But Murakami hit 56 home runs this past year, and he actually won the NPB MVP in 2022, last year, hitting 56 home runs. And if you saw any clips of that, that was electric. So he's going to be a fan favorite, especially in the Tokyo Dome. And Yamamoto was the MVP in 2021. A key omission for this Team Japan is Kodai Senga. Kodai Senga has been dealing with some injuries. He just got signed by the New York Mets from Japan, and he was one of the best players in the 2017 tournament. So it took a few years for him to come over. So maybe Murakami and Yamamoto both wait a little bit, just like Kodai Senga did. Kodai Senga, I imagine, was afflicted by COVID and all of those issues with moving to a new country during a higher peak in the pandemic. But this team shows out. Lars Nootbaar is playing for Team Japan as well. He doesn't know a lick of Japanese. It's been pretty funny to see him involved in some of the pregame shenanigans and the hype speeches that the Japanese coaches have been doing. He is set to be an outfielder on this roster. And also there's Masataka Yoshida, who the Red Sox just signed. Yu Darvish is playing, and Yu Darvish is definitely the best pitcher on their team, maybe with the exception of Shohei. This top 3 pitchers for Team Japan, Yamamoto, Darvish, and Shohei Ohtani, are going to be problems. And I think that's going to get them through their Pool B pretty easily. My picks are going to be Japan winning Pool B and Korea finishing in second. Korea is probably going to go 4-1 or 3-1 rather. Japan is going to go 4-0 in my opinion. And I don't think that's pretty controversial. It's pretty chalk, but I don't see any of the bottom 3 teams really breaking through on Japan.